Selectivity is another very important factor in a human brain. We can selectively pick out sounds. So for example, mothers can pick out baby sounds, their babies crying from all the other babies around them. And that is what nature has provided us with to help little babies. Whereas the same mother could probably sleep through a thunderstorm. But let the baby cry, immediately gets up and goes to work. And that's called selectivity. Masking. Masking is, as the name implies, hiding one frequency behind the other. Especially because when we are talking about the basilar membrane, it doesn't understand the two sounds when they're very close in frequency to each other. So we could mask. And that's important if we want to mask the sound of the air conditioning and cooling units. There are different types of masking. It's called backward masking, partial masking, central masking, or loudness reduction. So backward masking is masking that could happen if you have a time delay of 20 milliseconds. So this MS that's written over here is milliseconds. If one tone happens within 20 milliseconds of the other tone, human brains do not intercept that. Partial masking is the fact that you will never hear a sound in isolation. There will be always some other sound that are going around it. It's just that when I'm talking, you hardly realize that there is HVACs going on. That becomes like a white noise to you. But when I stop and I say, pay attention, suddenly it's there, right? Our brains are very, very good at not overwhelming us with stimuli. It says, okay, this is what I need to pay attention to. So I'm just going to pay attention to this particular thing and ignore everything else. Central masking is a phenomenon by which you can mask a tone in your right ear by messing up your left ear. So if you put a tone in this ear versus this ear, you can mask each one. And you can also do a loudness reduction. So if a loud noise is coming towards you, you can reduce it by masking. Adaptation and fatigue are also related to masking. If you live in an environment that is constantly noisy, you adapt to it. Most people, when they go from a small town to a big town, like when I go to a big city, I'm like, this is so noisy, and it keeps me up at night. But same thing happens when people move from the big city to a little town where it's quiet and calm. They can't sleep either. And part of the reason why is because of this thing called adaptation. Their brains are wired to be at that level. Nothing below that they recognize. And suddenly if you go to a very quiet place, you're like, wait, I'm not used to this. This is not right. And the other thing is fatigue. If you're exposed to loud noises for a really long time, your brain just gets exhausted, even if you don't realize it. And then you get stressed. And that's why people in big cities are stressed and annoyed and, all of those human physiological effects that happen to you when you're tired and exhausted. And that's called fatigue.